My daughter wanted to get rid of me, so I sold the house she thought was mine. When your own daughter looks you in the eye and says you're a burden, how are you supposed to react? Should I have kept quiet and let her treat me like I was disposable? Or was I right to do what I did, to sell the very house she thought would be hers one day? Tell me, what would you have done if your own child turned on you like that? I'm 67 years old, a widow, and a retired teacher. My late husband, Daniel, and I worked our entire lives to build a quiet little dream. A cozy, 3-bedroom house with a garden full of roses and a small library inside. It wasn't much, but it was ours. Every wall held memories of laughter, birthdays, and family dinners. After Daniel passed away 5 years ago, that house became my entire world. My daughter, Emily, used to call every day at first, checking on me. She'd say things like, "Mom, you shouldn't be alone. You can always move in with us." I used to think it came from love, but later I realized it was something else entirely. Emily was my only child, and for most of her life, she was my reason to keep going. She was bright, ambitious, and always wanted more comfort, more recognition, more success. She married a man named Robert, a real estate agent with a sharp tongue and sharper greed. At first, I thought he was a decent man. He treated Emily well, and they had 2 beautiful kids. But over the years, I started noticing the little comments, the way he talked about my house. He'd say things like, "This place must be worth a fortune now. Imagine what Emily could do if she had that money." I brushed it off, thinking it was harmless talk. I couldn't imagine my own daughter being part of such thoughts. Then, slowly, Emily began changing. The daily calls turned into weekly texts, then monthly check-ins, finally, only when she needed something. It hurt, but I convinced myself she was just busy. Until one day, she came over out of nowhere smiling too wide, dressed too nice for a casual visit. "Mom," she said sweetly, "Robert and I have been talking. You're living all alone here, and it's not safe. The house is too big for you. Why don't you move into an assisted living facility?" My heart stopped. I stared at her, trying to understand if she was joking. "Emily," I said slowly, "this is my home. I'm perfectly fine here." But she wouldn't stop. She went on about how she was worried about me, how it's time to downsize. But I could see it, the way her eyes scanned the walls, the furniture, the expensive paintings Daniel and I had collected. It wasn't concern in her eyes, it was calculation. A week later, Robert dropped by alone. That was the moment I knew something was seriously wrong. He didn't even bother to pretend, "Look," he said, leaning back on my couch like he owned the place, "Emily's just trying to help. You could make a lot of money by selling this place. Think about it. Nicer facilities, better care. Plus, Emily could finally move her family into a real home. Everyone wins." I felt something in me snap. "Robert," I said coldly, "you need to leave." After he left, I sat in the quiet, staring at the family photos on the mantel. Daniel smiling beside Emily as a little girl. Me holding her tiny hand on her first day of school. What had happened to that child? Where had my loving daughter gone? I thought maybe I was overreacting, that I should give her the benefit of the doubt. But then, one morning, I got a call from the county office. A young woman on the line said, "Mrs. Harper, we've received paperwork to transfer your property to your daughter Emily Harper. We just need your signature to finalize." My hands went cold. I hadn't signed anything. I told the woman it must be a mistake, but she said Emily had already submitted most of the documents. That night, I sat on the porch for hours, trying to breathe through the betrayal. My own daughter was trying to take my house. The home her father and I built, the one thing that still gave me a sense of purpose. I cried until the sun came up. But by morning, the sadness had turned into something else resolve. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I called my lawyer, Mr. Douglas, who had handled all of Daniel's estate matters. I told him everything. He sighed and said, "I've seen this before, Mrs. Harper. Let's protect your assets before they get clever. He helped me set up a private trust, one that gave me full control of the property and allowed me to sell it without Emily ever knowing until it was done. We didn't owe anyone explanations, so I started planning. Emily and Robert visited a few days later, pretending to care again. "Mom, have you thought about what we talked about?" Emily asked. Her voice was so sugary it made my stomach turn. I smiled and said, "Actually, yes, I think you're right. Maybe it's time for a change." Her eyes lit up like she'd just won the lottery. "Really?" she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "Yes," I replied calmly. "I've already talked to someone about taking care of things." I didn't tell her who. For weeks I acted normal, baked cookies with my grandkids, had tea with Emily, even let her browse the house with a measuring tape. I let her dream. I wanted her to think she was getting exactly what she wanted. But meanwhile, Mr. Douglas and I were quietly finalizing the sale. I found a lovely couple, retirees like myself, who had been looking for a place to settle down. They offered a fair price, and most importantly, they were kind. Then came the day Emily thought would be her victory. She and Robert came over with a realtor, one of Robert's colleagues, to inspect the house value. I played along, offering them coffee and smiling like nothing was wrong. After they left, I signed the final papers. The sale went through the next morning. The money was transferred into my trust account, and I arranged to move into a smaller seaside cottage I'd always loved. A week later, I invited Emily over. She walked in all cheerful until she noticed the boxes. "What's going on, Mom? Why are you packing?" she asked. I smiled. "I sold the house," I said simply. Her face went white. "You what?" "I sold it," I repeated. "The new owners move in next week." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Then she exploded. "Mom, you can't do that. This house was supposed to be mine. Dad built this for our family." I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, Emily, your father and I built this for our family, when we were all one. But you tried to take it from me behind my back. You forged papers, you lied. So no, this isn't yours. It never was." She broke down, crying and yelling that I was ruining her life, that I was being cruel. Robert stormed in too, demanding explanations, accusing me of being manipulative. I told them both to leave. They didn't, so I called the police. Yes, I did. I told the officers they were trespassing. Watching their shocked faces as they were escorted out was painful, but necessary. So that's the situation I was in, and that was the decision I made. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and tell me, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have forgiven your daughter and stayed quiet, or would you have protected yourself like I did? Because trust me, it wasn't easy choosing between peace and pain. After they left, things got ugly. Emily stopped calling altogether. Word spread through the family that I'd betrayed my own daughter. Some of my relatives took her side, saying I should have given her the house since she was my only child. Others said I did the right thing, but at night I still lay awake wondering if I'd gone too far. I missed my grandkids. I missed Sunday dinners, but every time I remembered the forged documents and her cold eyes, I reminded myself, I didn't start this war. She did. A few months later, I got a letter. It was from Emily. I hesitated before opening it, afraid of what it might say. Inside, she wrote, "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't realize how much this house meant to you. Robert pressured me. I just wanted security for my kids. I miss you." My hands trembled as I read it. I cried, not from joy, but from heartbreak, because even though she said she was sorry, something in me knew the trust was gone. Once a child tries to take your peace, no apology can rebuild that overnight. Still, I replied. I told her I forgave her, but I needed time. That I hoped one day she'd understand why I did what I did. She never replied. Maybe she couldn't face it. Or maybe Robert didn't let her. Either way, I found peace in my new home by the sea. I have a small garden again, full of roses just like before. I read in the mornings, sip tea in the evenings, and watch the sunset with memories of Daniel beside me. Sometimes I wonder if Emily drives by our old house. Maybe she looks at it and remembers what her greed cost her. I hope one day she realizes it wasn't about money. It was about respect, love, and boundaries. You can lose a house and buy another, but once you lose trust, you can't just rebuild it with bricks and paint. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. I gave my daughter everything I could, my love, my time, my support, but I won't give her the right to destroy me too. So tell me, was I wrong for selling that house? Should I have let her take it, just to keep the peace? Or was this my final lesson to her, that love without respect is just manipulation in disguise? If you were on my side, like this video and subscribe for more real life stories like this. And please share your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you would have done. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you all in the next story.